Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast, Don't Let Your Strategies Get Stale. My name is Sherry Anderson, Optimization Specialist here at Rhinogram. Joining me today is orthodontist Dr. George Soros. His practice is fresh, on the cutting edge, and because of the strategies he puts into motion, Smiles by Soros continues to see growth. You know, Dr. Soros, it's easy to get pumped up when you perform a new procedure, maybe build a new office, or perhaps attend a motivational seminar as a team. But I've seen it happen many times. After a couple of months, the luster begins to fail. And if we're not proactive, it's very easy for a business to grow stale. What are the early warning signs of a practice growing stale? And I'm not talking about just having a bad day or a week.
Well, thank you again, Sherry, for having me. And there's a lot of things to talk about there. I think when the signs become apparent, and they don't necessarily all happen immediately, but some of the things to pay attention for would be loss of motivation in your staff. You can literally see it in their eyes and their performance. At times, they might tend to get bored if things are repetitive and there's nothing fresh brought to the office. The practice tends to stagnate if you don't bring in improvements or changes in technology. So if there's no excitement in the doctor, no excitement in the practice, there's no excitement in the staff. So what happens is staff tend to want to spend less time in the office. They're tired of coming up with new ideas. They're tired of coming up with new services. And it just gets to the point where it's a kind of a downward spiral. So again, once people also get complacent, the problem is they start to create mistakes and have issues happening with what you really want them to accomplish because there's really nothing driving them or pushing them. So, and also that same thing carries out of your business. You won't hear people talking about your business. You won't hear any of the buzz. You won't have patients say, oh, I've heard so much about your office. And this is what we continue to hear in our offices. We love hearing comments like, oh, I asked around, I looked around, and I heard so many good things about what you're doing in there. And that's the type of buzz you want to hear about your practice, both internally and externally. So if there's nothing unique about your business or nothing that makes you stand out, this is what kind of reduces the demand for your services. So, and you also start to see, of course, in the end, it gets to the point where you start to see employee turnover, staff aren't motivated, and it starts to create a negative culture in your practice.
So when things begin to smell a little musty, what are a few immediate steps to take?
Well, the first thing you got to do really, Sherry, is ask yourself what's changed and take steps to change the things that really aren't working and are creating the stale environment. Great ways to figure out what to do. Number one, you can get patient as well as staff feedback. Kind of find out what they think. What do your patients think? What do the staff think? What types of things might re-spark the practice into some enthusiastic, driven type of processes. Ask yourself what motivates others. Remove your barriers. One of the biggest barriers, obviously, is communication, and that's where Rhinogram has pretty much removed any barrier to communication, because as far as getting new patients into the office and beginning their treatment, sometimes that barrier of phone tag, or I tried to get them, they didn't answer, they called me, I called them, and then they just kind of give up on your office. The thing to remember is people really want something, and the day they want it is the day they want to communicate with you. So the longer it takes for you to kind of present your product to them and present your services, the less likely they're going to accept it. So Rhinogram has allowed us to get back to our patients seeking treatment immediately and with massive amounts of information that allows them to make a quick decision, because this is why they're contacting you. They want your service and they want it now. So you got to ask yourself, what do I need to do to change or accelerate the things I'm doing in my practice to help my practice grow and have more people be interested in using it? One of the things, obviously, is to be unique, and it's not the same for everyone. But whatever you decide to do, you have to set clear goals and make sure that you have short-term goals, quarterly, semi-annually, annually. But the most important thing about goals is to evaluate the goals regularly and readjust them. This is what often happens. People set goals. They might not be realistic. They might have seemed realistic, but aren't accomplished in a reasonable amount of time. Well, that's where you have to meet as a staff and as a doctor and reevaluate and reset goals that might fit better with the changes you're accomplishing. In the beginning, it's all experimentation, but in the end, with all those changes, you've got to keep learning from them and doing the things that you need to do to take your practice to that next level. Obviously, another thing which I understand, but it's usually done to me is explore what your competitors are doing. Usually that's people exploring me. My wife is already noticing people are starting to do some of the things that I've been doing. So yes, you do want to watch what your competitors are doing, because if they have an edge over you, you need to figure out what it is that gives them the edge. But I never worry too much, because as they catch up to me, I pull forward again. So I think the Rhinogram has been something that's set me apart, as well as my digital technology and my scanner. And again, it's not something that can be implemented overnight. So, but look at your competitors. If they have an edge over you, you obviously have to make a move to catch up to them.
Businesses have been stretched these days, and strategies are more important than ever before. Please provide some areas that a business leader or owner needs to focus on to avoid becoming stale.
Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about is probably the most important. You have to be very proactive. You always have to be looking for improvements. This is why the minute I saw that article by Dr. Dressler about Rhinogram, I immediately gravitated to it and immediately brought it on board. I am a person who's always looking to bring another edge, another thing that's special to our practice that separates me from the others. And again, you've got to find your niche and shine and get the word out, meaning that you can't do everything great and do it all the time. Find what can separate you and do it well, and make yourself stand out with those particular things that give you the edge. Obviously, communication, Rhinogram, that gives me a huge edge over other people. Clinical procedures, I use a scanner. I have not taken an impression in 3 years. That separates me from all the other offices around. But it doesn't have to be a lot of things, just some things that really make you unique, that catch people's interests. And obviously, in using those things, you got to exceed the customer's expectations. And there's lots of ways to accomplish it. It's not just about necessarily using Rhinogram, it's how you use Rhinogram. Use it in such a way that gets people's attention, that makes them feel like, wow, this is really special. He not only texts, but he also texts us on our birthday. He texts us to see how we're doing with our expanders. He texts us to see what kind of day we've had. Basically, it's not just the process, it's what you do with it that makes you stand out as well. So maybe other people might be texting, but how are they really using the texting? So you really want to exceed what the customer expects of you when you're implementing these new changes. And obviously, you want to consider your visibility and marketing exposure. You have to market online with social media and digital media. To me, nothing's been more effective than my Facebook advertising. At this point, we are advertising in 2 cities, and we are generating not clicks, but 7 to 8 link clicks a day. That's not a click onto my marketing ad. That's a click directly into my website. And we are getting off of those 2 ads 7 to 8 a day, which is pretty amazing for the amount of money that you pay for Facebook advertising. And obviously, Rhinogram offers you that HIPAA compliant way, excuse me, for consumers to communicate with your practice in real time. And also, let's not forget, in the midst of all this, it can get pretty intense. So you really want to add back some fun into your practice as well. We like to do the luncheon as we can, but now with the pandemic, luncheons aren't quite as what they used to be. But try to include as much fun and as much excitement into your practice. Honestly, that's very difficult right now. I get it. We've really eliminated all that. We used to have so many things we did in our office, from gaming to coffee to juices to everything you can to create excitement. Unfortunately, in the pandemic times, it's very difficult to do that, but you still can do it amongst your staff, and you can give your office that fresh feeling, and just kind of use the pandemic as a way to make things more fun. So I'm finding that we're trying to do things now that are making the practice more fun despite the limitations that we have. So, and of course, if you succeed, celebrate with the staff somehow. If you fail, try and learn from it. Don't take it too hard, but for every success, there's probably 4 or 5 failures. Believe me, in 30 years of doing this, I've discovered that. So you really have to kind of embrace the successes and learn from the failures. And of course, the people you hire are very important too. So you want to hire diverse people, which I'm very good at, that all have different personalities and appeal to people, to all your patients in different ways. You want them to stay happy, motivated, inspired, and you really want your team to be excited to be there and excited to give the patient the best possible care they can. And of course, communication with your staff is also very important. I find larger staffs, mine aren't as large, there's a communication issue. And I'll be honest with you, this Rhinogram team chat thing has been, even with a small staff like mine, has been fantastic. We are now using it to the maximum effect. Any selfies that are sent, the staff will use the internal communication, send them to me. I will add a note to them, put them back into circulation, and the staff will respond to the patient. So, boy, it works in a small environment. I can't even imagine how wonderful it would be in a larger environment. But basically, we kind of do all the communication about our patients amongst our busy day through the Rhinogram Secure Team Chat, which is wonderful. And remember, the best employees will always stick around for the future if they see potential in the future. So if you get rid of that stale environment, make these changes, the staff will see, hey, we're going places here. This is a fun place to work. I like it. So this is kind of how I envision it. It's like, and again, even I at points have gotten stale where it's like, gosh, we need to do something here and change what's going on in our practice to kind of stimulate some excitement. But it's an ongoing process. It's not something that happens overnight, nor is it something that ends overnight. It has to be constantly monitored, and you have to keep making these changes as frequently as they are needed.
So it's important to frequently evaluate what is working and not working in a business. So you must have a keen sense of awareness about the advancement, what is working in your particular industry. Over the last couple of months, I've seen website traffic increase dramatically, and consumers are choosing providers and purchasing products online. And I would say take advantage of this opportunities. Online communication from a business website is soaring as well. And I'm talking about real-time communication with a live person from your practice website and not a bot. Do not ignore the statistics, right, Dr. Soros?
Absolutely. And it's funny that you brought that up about not a bot. There's a lot of programs out there that people know, and we all know when you click that little chat button and who you're really communicating with. Is it the offices or is it some company that you're communicating with? Well, to me, as a customer and as a doctor, that's kind of a turnoff. So what I love about Rhinogram is they know they're communicating with my staff and me, and not some company that's an intermediate body that's kind of passing the word along to us. So basically, you're right that not a bot thing has become very important because people really appreciate that they're talking directly to us. So if you're going to compete in this market, a consumer's preferred means of communication must be at the forefront of your strategy. For example, if online communication is increasing, that means buyer interest is increasing, so add it to your strategy. So you have to have a digital presence, really, if you're going to grow and refresh your practice. So for us, texting is the form of communication that people prefer. We've proven that now over the years. And really, there's a very small percentage that kind of at first might dodge that form of communication, but for the most part, it is the way people want to communicate. And they want to communicate with you, like we said, not a company or someone who's in a different state that passes that word along to you. So obviously, we all know our industry and our life as we know it is changing quickly, daily. So we have to think about and decide where to focus our time, energy, and money. Look for new opportunities, new practice location, new form of communication, new form of treatment. Refine your strengths. Think about what special benefit you can offer and what your patients are looking for. For us, it's the scanning, the digital technology that separates us, along with Rhinogram as our main form of communication. Those things have elevated my practice to a level that others will have to really work to get to. Basically, they come to me first because they know how it's efficient and fast. So basically, patient acquisition and retention will increase from the Rhinogram. As I've mentioned in previous podcasts, you will basically get more people to start faster when you're communicating efficiently with texting and Rhinogram. Your staff will be more efficient with communication. You will solve problems faster, and you'll get the reputation as being the guy who communicates quickly, efficiently, and solves my problem as quick as I discover the problem. And that's been very, 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 very big for us. It's not just the texting as a communication form, it's the efficiency of the texting as a communication form, which is what people want, efficiency and quickness. So basically, we have to think about what matters most to our patients. We have to be bold and make decisions and adapt quickly. And especially now in this current environment, even more quickly. You have to adapt and make changes literally daily at this point as things evolve. You have to build relationships, listen to your patients, And that's really going to be a vital part of you changing and making the changes that will help them be satisfied with your performance, not only as a practitioner but as a communicator. We want to invest in and provide the best for our patients. So you want to provide what the patients want and what they need, and they'll keep coming back. Really, I can summarize it by saying patients want maximum results with minimum time and effort. And if you doubt that, think hard, because that's really what they want. Rhinogram gives people the opportunity to achieve their goals with your office using efficient communication with minimal office visits.
Dr. Soros, thank you so much for your insight and valuable information today. We must allow time to focus on what sets our business apart, what adds value, and dedicate a percentage of time for strategy. Rhinogram has 4 channels of communication. Providers, make sure to have those in place so that your telehealth and communication strategy with Rhinogram is optimized. Also, remember to visit our Help Center and Rhinogram University for valuable tips, videos, and more information to help with your strategy and marketing efforts. For those who would like additional assistance with strategy planning and marketing, visit our Rhinogram website partner page. If you have any questions regarding today's podcast, please email Sherry, Sherrie, at rhinogram.com. I will end today's podcast with a powerful quote for you to ponder on. It is one that I believe to be a gold nugget from Chairman and CEO of Rhinogram, Dr. Keith Dressler. Life gets no better than when you love what you do every single day.